Hello, you guys. So today I'm gonna do just a conversational kind of story time video. It's not a lush video, and I just wanted to talk about just some personal things and just as I just got to thinking about this subject because of what's been going on in the past couple of days with the suicides of a couple of really famous people that that I looked up to, and so a lot of people who liked these two people. I'm talking about Kate Spade, the designer, and Anthony Bourdain, the chef and writer. I've been a huge fan of Tony Bourdain since the 90s when he first came out with his book. He was a chef and he came up through the ranks in New York City. He came up through the ranks as a line cook and worked his way up to chef. And Tony Bourdain was very intelligent, very witty, very worldly. He'd been all over the world, and he helped a lot of people become aware of the plight of other countries and third world countries in particular. And he introduced those countries to all of us via the food of those countries. And Tony Bourdain was just a real special person. I thought just one of many reasons why I thought Tony Bourdain was a special person is because he overcame addictions to cocaine, heroin, and alcohol and cigarettes. Not all at the same time, but one by one through his life he quit those things. And as a fellow addict and alcoholic who is no longer drinking or doing drugs, I could really appreciate, the strength of, what it took to overcome those addictions and to stay sober and stay clean. So it was all the more confusing that he would choose to end his life after battling those things and having won. And so when I learned that he passed this morning, wow, I was in shock for sure. And just like I was, when Robin Williams committed suicide. So a lot of people are asking on social media, why? Like, why? These people seem to have everything. They had both Kate Spade, Robin Williams, and Tony Bourdain were famous and wealthy, and they had won many awards, and yet they were very clearly very unhappy. They all had families and children, and myself, as a person who suffers from bipolar disorder, it doesn't make it any easier or more understandable when someone like Tony Bourdain decides to commit suicide. I can understand those feelings, but I'm just as shocked as those of you who don't have bipolar disorder or depression. I'm just as shocked as you are when that happens, and I still can't understand it, even though I do understand it, if that makes sense. I've suffered from depression, manic depression, but I've suffered from depression for years, for decades, and it's just sort of a part of who I am. I've kind of almost accepted it as a part of who I am, and I think from a metaphysical perspective is how I was wondering, how I was trying to answer some questions that I had about why someone like Tony Bourdain would choose to end his own life. I'd like to read something. I want to read a couple of things. The first thing I want to read is an article on Facebook that someone had written about Kate Spade. And it was, I don't think it was anyone famous. It was just someone who maybe had a couple of Kate Spade handbags. She says, "My laptop bag is Kate Spade. My wallet is Kate Spade. The adorable cactus charm on it is Kate Spade. The purse my daughter carries is a Kate Spade purse. I just got her a new one a couple of weeks ago. Yet I had no idea this amazingly talented and creative woman, Kate Spade, suffered from depression. I know she went to ASU, which we just toured last week. I know that's where she met her husband, who she left behind today along with her daughter. I know her brand story, yet I didn't know she suffered from depression. Why is it any of my business or yours to know? It doesn't have to be, of course. But I knew when Patrick Swayze was battling pancreatic cancer. I know that Cynthia Nixon is a breast cancer survivor. I know that Selena Gomez has lupus and recently had a kidney transplant. I know that Dave Letterman suffers from heart disease. I know that Lance Armstrong is a testicular cancer survivor, but I didn't know that Kate Spade suffered from depression, or that Robin Williams did, or that Tony Bourdain did. Because somehow society has made it more acceptable to talk about breasts and things and testicles than about the mind and chemicals and the hormones that the mind releases and controls and the messages that it relays. Until depression is seen as an illness and not as a condition that can be cured by being brushed off with a try to be happy, just look at the bright side of things, just maybe pull yourself up from your bootstraps. You have so much to be happy about. Until anxiety is seen as an illness and not as a condition that can be cured by being brushed off with, well, just don't be afraid of that. Or get over it. Depression, bipolar disorder, anxiety, etc. feed your mind the wrong messages. These disorders tell you to be afraid of things that you know you shouldn't be afraid of. These disorders tell you that you aren't good enough and that you don't deserve to be alive and that things won't get better. They tell you that everyone is out to get you, that everyone is looking at you, that everyone is judging you. And sadly, the last sentence comes with truth, because people do judge those with mental illness. Yet would you judge someone with cancer or heart disease or immune disorders or a tumor? Would you tell them to just get over it? As though people suffering from mental illness could somehow just wish it away. Don't you think they would if they could? Until society truly, authentically accepts it as an illness, those suffering from these illnesses will continue to hide their condition. In some cases, they will self-medicate themselves with drugs and alcohol instead of medication. In some cases, like an old friend when we were in our early 20s, they'll jump off a cliff in LA. In some cases, they'll hang themselves from a red scarf from their bedroom door in their gorgeous New York City apartment. Depression is a monster. And if you don't start realizing that mental illness is an illness and not joke fodder, if you don't respond with love and compassion when someone does open up to you about it, if you know someone with these illnesses and make them feel that they're weak because of them, then you might want to ask yourself if maybe you're a monster too. Something I read that one of my friends had posted from Tony Bourdain. It's a quote from him. It says, "I understand the duplicity of everyday existence. I know what it is to have a really good life and to still be miserable. To have the markers of success, yet be certain I am failing. To be surrounded and yet feel alone. to be well loved and yet deem myself unlovable, to have abundance and yet feel desperation, and to be suffocating right out there in the open, to have every reason to have hope and yet still be hopeless. Tony Bourdain. So what these people can teach us, if we can take something, anything at all that could be considered even remotely positive of these situations, if there's something that they gave us, it's that money and being accepted and being successful and isn't going to necessarily make you happy. If you have depression, if you have something in your head that tells you that your children would be better off without you, if you have that message in your head at any time, that is not right. And that's how you know that you need help. Okay? When you have things in your head, I know because I've had these thoughts. I've unfortunately, I've tried to commit suicide a couple of times in my life, and I've thought about suicide a few times in my life, and I've played around with my meds and gone off of them because I thought that I could do it by myself, and have slowly become so depressed that I was suicidal again. And I mean, if you have those thoughts, because people can say, how can you leave your children? I mean, he had children, he had everything. Well, what you don't understand is that when these disorders, because they are chemical imbalances, they've been proven to be chemical imbalances in your brain chemistry, and you actually wind up thinking that your children are going to suffer if you live anymore, that you are so detestable, so much of a loser, you've ruined so many people's lives, that they would be so much better off if you would just be dead. That would be the one thing that you could do for them, that you could give them, so they could maybe have a normal life. And that's all you can think of. That's all you can think of. No matter if someone's talking to you, that's what's going on in your mind. When you're brushing your teeth in the morning, that thought's still in your mind. When you're standing in line at the grocery store, that's what's in your mind. That's what depression is like. And if you feel that way, you need to seek help, because there's help out there for you, because you don't need to feel that way. Okay? You don't need to feel that way. And I think that on a metaphysical level, I think the universe is trying to tell us that we need to stop being so afraid of each other. We really need to stop being so afraid of other people. This is to our detriment. We need other people. We need each other. We need to be kind to other people. We need to stop looking at our cell phones just so we can stop talking to people when we're waiting for the train or when we're waiting in the elevator. We need to stop putting our heads down. We need to stop being afraid that people are going to be weird, or that people are going to judge us, or that people are assholes, or that people will see we're assholes. We need to stop. And we need to have faith. We all need to find faith. Once again, we've all lost it. We've all lost it. We've clearly all lost faith. But it's there. I'm here to tell you, it's there. And it works. And that's the only reason I'm here, is because it does work. And if I can just make a difference to one person, this video is coming from a good place, and I'm sorry if it upsets people, but I am trying to help. At least if I'm making a mistake with this video, at least please know I'm trying to help someone. I'm coming from a good place, from a helping place, from a loving place. And I think it's time that people understood that there's people walking around that you might even be jealous of, who are in pain. And that jealous thinking is just in your mind. It's not real. Just like the depression thoughts aren't real. They're not real. They're in your mind, but they're not coming from you, is what I'm saying. There's a difference between your thoughts, organic thoughts that come from you, and thoughts that come from other. And that's really what it's all about. Metaphysically, there are thought forms. There's such a thing as thought forms, and I know that many of you know what I'm talking about. Thoughts are alive, just like bodies are alive. Everything is energy, and thoughts are energy. Thoughts are things. And the law of attraction of the universe says that like energy attracts like energy. So jealousy attracts jealousy, hate attracts hate, anger attracts anger, love attracts love, etc. So if you have a thought form that is actually alive with energy and is a thing, it attracts other thought forms. These thoughts, because of the law of attraction pertains to everything, not just people, but thoughts. And thoughts attract other thoughts that are like them, and they make thought forms. And thought forms are actual things that are an autonomous thinking thing. And other thoughts that are like that in the universe from anywhere in the world get attracted to it. These get attracted to a person who is thinking those thoughts all the time. These are what I call non-organic thoughts that affect your thoughts but are not yours. You are simply attracting them to you because you're having that same thoughts and energy in your head, okay? That is how the universe works. That is how everything, every infinitesimal to giant thing in this universe works. So it's not that things happen to you and then you feel some kind of way about it. What really is the real case from an energetic standpoint, from a quantum physics standpoint, is that you think first and then the thing happens to you, not the other way around. Something doesn't happen to you and then you react. That's not really how it works. That's how it seems like it works. It seems like we just go through our day and we react to things that are happening. But that isn't how it works. How it works is that your thinking and feeling create what you experience throughout your day, every day. And if you change what you're thinking or how you're feeling, it's a matter of actually changing both. Both have to be changed. If you change that by even imagining something happy, you're out of it and nothing else can attract you. Now you're going to attract whatever else you've changed and thinking and feeling about. Now you're going to attract good things. That's exactly how it works. And if you laugh and you say, oh my God, you're crazy, try it. Try it. I dare you to try it. I dare you to try it. Try it with a real sense of really wanting to prove to yourself that this works or not. Okay? And I think that metaphysically, I think that there are a lot of thought forms just hanging out everywhere and, just in space. And there are a lot of lower vibrational entities as well, which feed on these kinds of negative, lower vibrational feelings, such as anger, resentment, guilt, shame, depression. And so you see how it's like it starts here, and then it just builds and builds and builds until it's this actual living thing that's affecting other things. And then if some unsuspecting person has depression who's just walking, boom, now they're attracting worse things in their life and all this kind of stuff, versus this person here who's walking out from the store who really believes and is thinking about, being in love or whatever. All kinds of good things are going to happen to that person because they're thinking and feeling love. So love things are going to be attracted to them. And that is literally how the universe works. And this has been such a struggle for me. Knowing that still doesn't keep me from knowing that, and believing that still doesn't keep me, though, from falling into a mindset that's negative. Okay? Even though I know this and believe this to be true, being a human being on this earth, you will lose touch with that. You will lose touch. You will forget. And you'll, get into that mindset of like, life is bleak. And so I still run into these issues, but, I'm working on them. My whole existence right now, my whole reason for getting up in the morning right now is to work on these issues, because that's the most important thing to me right now, is getting out of this constant negative mindset. I mean, from the moment I get up to the moment I go to sleep, I'm constantly worried that I'm not good enough. It's just a constant thing that I'm not good enough, and I just have crazy negative self-talk that I do in my head, and like it's just guilt and like shame, and I'm just an awful person. And I think it's important to open up to other people. There's a lot of things that anxiety or depression or bipolar keeps us from doing, but talking to people should never be one of those things. Just talk to somebody, just anybody. If someone says, "How are you doing?" Don't say, "Okay." Don't say okay. If you're not okay, it's okay not to say okay. Just say something like, "Not so good." Just say "not so good." That's all you have to say. Not so good. And chances are, the other person will say, "Oh yeah? What's wrong?" And take advantage of it. That's the universe talking to you and telling you to tell it your woes. The universe, I truly believe, the universe speaks to us sometimes through other people, and sends help or sends the right message sometimes through other people. And so don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to open up. Don't be afraid to listen. You won't say the wrong thing. You won't say the wrong thing. Just trust, because you have to. It's too important not to. Don't keep it all in your head. I know what those things are telling you. I know what they're telling you. They tell me the same things, and they're not real, and we need to not listen to them. We need to not listen to them. We need to tell them to go away. That it actually works. So, all right. So that's really all I had to say today. And if I have other thoughts about it, I'll make another video later or something. But if you feel some kind of way about this, let me know by commenting down below. And I'm going to put a link below to a suicide hotline, and you can call this number whenever you feel like you need to talk to somebody but you don't have anyone available around you. You can call these numbers and there's someone there to talk to you. Please call them. Please, please, please call them until you can talk to someone and open up, and don't be afraid. Okay, love you guys. Bye bye.